first actual YouTube exclusive episode or series. And today we're actually going to be doing a episode on disturbing superstitions and their respective origins.
Cool.
So we're going to start by discussing the older, more lesser known, but that some people, even you, may be practicing or believe in yourself.
Right. We just don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Since
I
origins
probably
are less and
wouldn't
less
know
told.
any of these just off the top. I mean, there's lots of things that I've heard of. I don't know if it's on this list, but per se, throwing salt over your shoulder, like things like that. You know what I'm saying? Like old stuff, like knocking on wood. People knock on wood. What? I don't know, but we all know that it's supposed to be, good luck or, fend off bad luck or, whatever.
So it's funny that you would mention throwing salt over your shoulder because that is our first one.
Okay.
So throwing peeled salt over your shoulder.
Spilled salt? Yeah.
Spilled salt, yeah. Typo. This superstition is very well known in the western part of the world.
Mm,
A
true.
simple ritual with actually very few varying origins.
Mm.
The exact time when this practice became common is not completely known, but it's said to have started during a time when salt would have been a very valuable commodity.
Well, yeah, there are times where that would have been very true.
And since it wasn't exactly expensive, it was actually known to be fairly cheap. It was heavy and very awkward to ship.
Oh,
and
yeah.
very
Could you imagine
inconvenient.
a shipload of salt? How heavy that would be? Just salt. I mean, you think about just one little box of salt, how heavy that is.
Yeah, if it's packed in, it can be very heavy.
That's what I'm saying. Just like a little canister of Morton salt like we get at the store. I mean, that's fairly heavy, just that. So, you know what I'm saying? They actually used it, though, like for curing meats and stuff. So they would have used quite a bit. So a shipload, good grief. I wouldn't even want to be on that ship. I'd be afraid that they would sink just from the weight.
So, with the difficulty to obtain it at the time and the very vast need for it, the act of spilling salt was considered to be extremely wasteful. And since the left side of your body was said to be linked to negativity,
Right.
the salt being seen as too precious to waste was then tossed over your left shoulder. This was done to either blind the devil, bad luck, or just to blind the overall negativity of your life.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always heard that left side thing. It's supposed to be like, because the devil sat on God's left side, what, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see all that, yeah. In the devil's eye, maybe he's supposed to be like his spirit's over your shoulder watching you, whatever,
Yeah.
I get it.
So, as for some side notes for this, the English actually believed that every grain of salt that is spilled represents a tear you will spill in the future.
Oh, gosh. That's
Yeah.
awful.
That is very awful. It
Well,
actually
thankfully,
makes a lot of sense,
yeah.
too, because your tears are salty.
Right. Thankfully, I haven't spilt a ton of salt in my life, but then again, oh my goodness.
I've spilt my fair share.
I would hate to, if I counted every single grain,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
So, the Germans also believe that if you spill some salt, it will arouse quarrels. So, it will cause a lot of fights, pretty much.
That's possible. Why not, right? I mean, it's like a lot of things. I mean, I've heard different things like that too. So, different variations. So, it's kind of funny to hear how similar they are, just a little different, So, it's kind of interesting too.
Yeah. Alright, so moving on from tossing spilt salt over your shoulder, we're going to breaking a mirror.
Ah, yes.
This is a very well-known one.
Oh, definitely.
It was believed in ancient Greece that a person's soul was revealed in their reflection.
Yeah, heard that.
And while ancient Romans believed that the gods could see souls using mirrors, which is also fairly common belief.
Right. I mean, you even seen that like on like a Mount Olympus, depictions. You saw like that little mirror almost thing,
Yeah.
pool thing they were looking in to look down and stuff. So it would have been similar for that too, I
Yeah.
guess, in a way ish.
So, no matter what you believe it's the actual origin, or if you believe the origin comes from another source, it is well known that breaking one is considered to be bad and will bring very bad luck to you.
True. I mean, I always heard that.
Oh, yeah. So, it's claimed that breaking a mirror would actually fracture your soul, which is what causes misfortune to enter your life.
I mean, I guess that would make sense. I mean, just if you didn't know what was going on, as a way to explain it. Because, I mean, they didn't even really know what was happening when a mirror was reflecting. I mean, they literally thought it was like their souls looking back at them. I mean, it's not funny, but you get what I'm saying. So, why would breaking one not do that, right?
Yeah.
So
it makes sense that people would believe that, yeah.
It does.
Anyways, others claim that breaking a mirror would anger the gods, who would then send bad luck flooding into their lives.
Possible.
The ancient Romans are the ones to thank for the 7 years of bad luck that is most commonly associated with the superstition.
Right.
They believe that poor health would cause a mirror to crack and sickness and renewal, or to crack a mirror, and they would believe that it took 7 years for the soul to complete a cycle of sickness and renewal.
So basically then, if you broke one, then you had roughly up to 7 years of possible poor health, bad luck, yada yada.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like a wonderful time to be living alive.
Absolutely. So another famous Greek story that revolves around reflections and obsessions, and this is actually a very, very well-known one and one of my personal favorites, was the story of Narcissus, which we covered in an earlier episode
I think he's
my Greek series.
Wasn't he the one like fell in love with his own reflection or something? Yeah.
He was cursed to fall in love with his own reflection.
But still, that's what he did, right?
And that's where narcissism comes from. That's the root of narcissism.
You're supposed to basically be in love with yourself, yada yada. Well, it makes sense because, it's more or less what a narcissist is, so why not?
And so moving on to this, and this is another funny thing, it's the other one you mentioned at the beginning, knocking on wood.
Oh, yeah.
So, this has possibly pagan origins.
I could see that.
So, in ancient times, many people believed that knocking on trees would allow them to thank the trees for their good fortune. And many believed that there were spirits that lived in the trees, and that knocking on them would be a code of sorts to ask the spirits to protect them from bad luck.
Right. Now, I can even see that, especially like for fruit trees, because I've even heard of people like hitting trees, like the trunks and stuff, supposed to kind of like help release that sap and things that's in them, and different things. Sometimes if they're not producing well, so that would kind of be like knocking on them, and then all of a sudden, you've actually just pretty much just done something to help the tree, but you're thinking, oh, the gods have blessed me with a better harvest, of apples when you've just done something. You know what I'm saying? So I bet a lot of that stuff, that even could be what it was. It could even just been a pure accident. Someone did that. Just got frustrated because this tree is not, putting out like it was, and it takes a stick or something, whap, and then, something funny happens. So. But it is kind of cool. Yeah. It is kind of funny, though.
So it's very likely that the origins of this superstition have at least some roots in these pagan practices, and were just adapted as a societal change. In the UK, it's said to touch wood. In Brazil, it's believed that 3 taps are needed to prevent bad from happening. In Greece, you just simply have to say knock on wood.
Right.
In Italy, the expression is touch iron. In Poland and Russia, you have to knock on unpainted wood.
Well, that's kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't really get the touch iron part myself, though. I don't see what that has anything to do with knock on wood. It feels like that would be its own thing.
I'm guessing it's probably just something about something in Italy. It probably something, twisted different just for that region. Not necessarily twisted, but you get what I'm saying. Just got twisted differently for there as opposed to where we are for whatever reason. I'm sure it's something like that.
It also could have just been like someone mistakenly hearing something that
Could have been.
someone
Could have
didn't
been
say.
mistranslation.
Yeah, misinterpreted. That's
Something
what I was
like
trying
that.
to say.
Could have been. Could have been.
Anyways, moving on from this is walking under a ladder. This superstition is one that is said to have originated approximately 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt, of all places.
Good grief, that is a long time ago. I didn't think it was that old, but okay.
So the Egyptians had an interesting view on death and the afterlife, as we know.
Yeah, we definitely do, because we've covered it.
So something that we discussed on earlier episodes. And they were known to leave ladders in tombs of the dead, so that they could ascend to heaven when they felt they were ready to move on. Which isn't something I covered.
Well, it doesn't matter, but I mean, we covered a bunch of different stuff because we covered some of the burial rituals and things like that as well in a few different episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they did all kinds of stuff like that. So that is interesting, though. You know. So, yeah. That's just cool. That's it. It's cool.
So they also thought that the space between the ladder and the wall was the home of both good and bad spirits.
Okay.
And you gotta keep in mind, these ladders back then were just straight.
Right.
They didn't have the angles.
Exactly. They weren't like,
So it was literally just a slab of wood leaning against a wall.
More or less. Right.
Anyways, so it makes sense that the spirits would not be too happy about you treading into what is essentially their home.
Well,
their
yeah,
own territory.
I guess not.
But, yeah, that's a pretty interesting one.
Well, it is. So, yeah, so that's dangerous, for a few different reasons, because it's sort of a, I guess, symbol of the religion, I guess, a little bit. I guess if it's supposed to let them sort of ascend to heaven-ish, but then it's also bad luck because there's spirits underneath there.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of interesting, though. Very interesting.
So, moving on from that, we're going to finding lucky pennies. This superstition is believed to have originated in the folk beliefs of several different cultures.
Yeah.
They believed that metal was highly valuable and that finding it was like a gift from the gods to those they favored.
Not true, because
Yeah.
especially even back in the old days, because, imagine all they used metal for: armor, weapons, pots, pans. Just, the normal stuff.
Currency.
Exactly.
Whatever currency was back
So,
then.
yeah, it would have been very, very valuable. And probably, not even as much as the metals that we even hold valuable now. Just metals in general.
Oh, absolutely not.
Would have been.
Take gold, for instance.
Right. I'm not saying that that's not valuable, and it wasn't held valuable, but it was. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Other things were very valuable as well because, they were used in day-to-day life. And,
Like steel or
right.
iron.
Exactly. So, yeah, that I can definitely see.
So, the belief has changed, and now it's believed that you will instead be blessed by finding lucky pennies or coins, as they too are made of metal.
Right.
It's believed finding a coin will bring you good luck. However, there are some that believe that the coin must be heads up, and that if you find one tails up, you should turn it over and leave it for the next person to find, or you will be inviting bad luck into your life.
Now, that specific I haven't heard. Now, I have heard, that you want to find one heads up, and if you don't, you can flip it over and pick it up. But don't pick it up heads down. Yeah.
Tails up.
I don't know. I've heard that now.
I have heard this before myself, but it's not commonly known.
Exactly. So, I guess it's probably just different little variations that different families or different people tell, different generations. So, yeah, there you go.
So, moving on to our last one for this episode, the lucky horseshoe.
Yeah.
It's not an uncommon sight to see a horseshoe hanging above the door of someone's home. Much like the pennies in the previous entry, a lot of luck is said to come from the fact that they are made of metal.
Right.
However, the supposed origin story is a fairly chilling tale. It's said that Saint Dunstan, who was supposedly a blacksmith before becoming the patron saint of bell ringers, of all
that's
things.
Interesting change of occupation, but okay.
So Dunstan was working in his shop one day when the devil came riding up and demanded that Dunstan put new shoes on his horse. Dunstan, however, quickly realized that this was not a mere traveler, but the devil himself. He made sure to keep his face and reactions calm, not letting on that he knew the man's true identity. Instead of nailing the shoes to the horse's feet, Dunstan instead had other plans. He nailed one of the shoes to the devil's foot,
Okay.
and the devil shrieked in pain and agony. Dunstan then made him swear that he would never enter a house that had a horseshoe nailed above the door. Which, nah.
How could he
you do that?
I'm hoping it was only one nail and one little because if he stood there and nailed that whole shoe on,
I imagine it's just one nail.
right, and then he realized. But that is a very interesting story. That is very cool too.
Anyways, satisfied with the devil's promise, he removed the shoe and the devil fled, and would never, or said to never be able to enter a home that had a horseshoe hanging above it.
Well, that is actually very cool. I've never heard that story, so that's very interesting. I mean, I know, all these are just, different things that we've made up and things like that, but that was very cool. That was very, very interesting
Definitely
series.
a bit of a different belief than just an upside-down horseshoe.
True.
Just bringing good luck.
Exactly. So, very interesting.
Yeah. So that's gonna be it for this episode, this YouTube exclusive. As for the first one in the series, I think it was pretty good.
I don't think too bad either.
Anyways, I'll now turn it over to the Bill so she can tell you about hers.
We'll most likely continue on and discuss a few more of the superstitions and their origins, and then we're going to be working up a new series for you. We'll let you know as soon as we decide where we're going. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and don't forget to stay disturbed.